Welcome back to the Metro Detroit Poker Series, where we're presenting today the 2019-20 Tournament of Champions. I am your host, Terry Prince, and beside me today, four-time MDPS champion, including a WSOP qualifier win, Bob Williamson.
Thank you, Terry. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to seeing how this final table is going to unfold. We've got one player with a significant chip lead, and most of the other players are pretty short, so we'll see if anyone can catch our fat stack.
Before we get to the action, a quick recap of the Metro Detroit Poker Series. This is the 17th season. Each season consists of 9 tournaments plus the TOC. You must cash in one of those season events in order to qualify for the TOC or be one of the 2 wildcard entries. We had 124 unique players in the 1920 season, 51 average per event, and over a $5,500 prize pool. All right, now we'll get started with our player introductions. In seat number 1 is Mark Aller, one-time champion. Next to him in seat number 2, Larry Phillips. Beside him in seat number 3, 2-time champion Joel Asuncion. Seat number 4, Bob Ewald, 7-time final tableist. Seat number 5, 11-time final tableist Rudy Ferris. Seat 6, in only his second Tournament of Champions, Jim Burchess. Seat number 7, one-time champion Jürgen Drenk. Seat number 8, 7-time MDPS champion Terry Prince. Seat number 9, one-time champion, 11-time final table Pat Miller. And in seat number 10, 4-time champion and 19-time final tableist Bob Williamson. All right, and down to the action we go. The very first hand of this final table. Blinds are 8 and 1600, 2400 in the pot. Mark is the dealer. Larry in the small blind, Joel in the big blind.
Terry, I'm expecting to see a lot of cautious play here with everybody being pretty short, except for Terry with his huge chip lead. We could lead to a lot of folding and a lot of raising by Terry.
Well, we're seeing some folding so far as Bob E. looks down at ace rag offsuit and folds, and Rudy does the same. Jim and Jürgen follow suit. Terry looks down at queen 8 and folds that, so no raise there. Pat looks at Dolly Parton, 9-5 and folds that. Bob folds his 3-8 suited. Mark looks down at 4-5 and throws that away. Larry looks down at queen 10 in the small blind. Looks over at Joel's stack there. What you got? Makes the call. Joel looks back at Larry's stack. Looks down at 10-4. Puts the blinds in the middle. We're going to see a flop.
A little surprised Joel didn't put some pressure on there. He's not known to be very passive.
Well, he catches a 4 on the flop here. Joel leads out after Larry checks. Larry counts down his chips. Doesn't have much of a hand here left. Folds it in, and we're underway at the final table. Joel takes down the first pot. 5,200 chips. Blind still at 8 and 1600 now. We have Rudy in the small blind, Jim in the big blind. Puts Bob Ewald on the button. Yog looks down at Jack 9 offsuit, folds that. Terry Jack deuce, even worse, folds that. Pat's at least suited with queen 7, but in the muck they go. Not so good hands looking out here. Lots of folds real quick. And look at that. Everything. Jim gets a walk in the big blind and flips over pocket kings.
Very nice. Might never see that again the rest of the tournament. Terry, is it just me, or do we have a very mature table here tonight?
A little bit on the older side, for sure. Joel looks down at ace 10, raises to 4,200.
A little surprised at that sizing, Terry. I think, given the stacks, it's generally a min raise here, not a 2.6 times raise.
No. Jim just calls with ace king. Terry looks down at king jack offsuit.
Well, if I was surprised by Joel's raise, I'm really surprised by Jim's flat there. Both these players have about 20K in chips. I would expect Jim to get it in 99 times out of 100 there.
Oh, everybody else folds and we're off to the flop now. Flop comes off ace 4-4 rainbow. Oh, 2 clubs. Both players flopped an ace. Gonna see some action here, I think.
Yeah, this is a big problem for Joel here.
Joel flat bets 2,500 and Jim simply calls. 9 of hearts on the turn. Joel's looking pretty thin. Joel checks to Jim. Jim might go all in here. Nope, he bets 3,500 and Joel flat calls. 8 of clubs is no help to Joel.
But looks like he's going to make a bet here. He's going to represent the flush.
He goes all in.
Is it going to work with a hand as strong as Jim's?
It's gotta leave him some questions.
I think he would have played the flush draw exactly the same. Check call the turn, lead on the river. Jim's got to be wondering.
Jim's got the best hand here, but 3 clubs on the board definitely make me skittish.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think they both have the same amount of chips here. So.
And he makes the call, puts his money in. Joel realizes his representation didn't work and his kicker isn't good enough. Jim takes down this 42,000 chip pot. It's going to leave Joel with a couple of 100 chips left, I think. Yeah, they were both pretty closely stacked here, and yep, he gets his 200 chip change, and Jim gets the rest of his stack. Joel is down to 2 chips in a chair.
And I think the rest of the table breathes a little sigh of relief to not see Joel with a big stack, to be honest.
Joel can be pretty aggressive, especially with a large chip stack. He's a hard player to play against. The very next hand we go now. Jim's still stacking up Joel's chips.
Joel with just 1/8 of a blind.
Larry looks down at Jack 3 offsuit. Into the muck. Joel folds his. Rudy mucks 5-6 offsuit. Jim didn't even look at 2 cards. Jurgen has ace queen.
Did he just limp there?
He did.
You know, you're limps with a lot of hands. I guess if you're going to do that a lot, you occasionally got to be holding a big hand. Maybe he's looking to entice the blinds to shove on him.
And Mark checks his big blind, and here we go to a flop. 7, 8, deuce, 2 diamonds. Didn't help anybody. Check to the turn.
This is probably going to get checked down now.
5 of clubs. And a jack of spades on the river. Yoge's got the best hand simply with ace high. They both check it. Yoge wins this little pot, 4,000 chips. Next hand here, still at 8 and 1,600 blinds. Joel is first to act, under the gun with his 200 chips left.
Joel's declaring his allegiance to Marvel there with his choice of t-shirt. Terry, you agree, or more of a DC guy?
I'm not a comic book fan at all, to tell you the truth.
Not at all.
You know, looking down at pocket 6s for Joel, he shoves those last 200 chips in the pot.
Yeah, those 200 chips are not going to be significant in how the rest of the hand plays out.
You know, you wouldn't think. It's not even, like you said, 1/8 of a big blind. Terry looks down at ace 10 offsuit. Thinking about a raise here, I imagine. Late position. Yeah, he's stacking up chips. 4,200 bet. Pat looks down at king, queen of diamonds.
I think I'd like to see a 3-bet here from Pat. He knows Terry should be opening wide.
Simply calls.
As I mentioned, we might see a lot of cautious play, especially against the only hand that can, the only player that can bust him right now.
Everybody else folds, including the king jack of from Larry in the big blind. A little surprise there. So we've got 3-way action to the flop. One player all in. And a flop that really helped Terry with a middle pair there.
But you see Pat's open-ended here.
Yeah, yes, he's got that up and down straight draw. Terry bets out 6,500. Pat counting out a call here.
Not going anywhere with 2 overs and the open-ender.
Another jack on the turn.
Might slow down the action here.
It doesn't really help anybody, but puts 3 spades on the board as well. And everybody checks. And a 10 on the river gives Terry a full house. That's pretty much going to put the knife in this one. Pat quickly folds to Terry's shove. And Joel looking up and seeing what 10th place pays out as he just got eliminated.
And Terry widens his lead over the pack. And now Pat drops back even with the rest of the pack, except for Jim, of course, who doubled up through Joel earlier.
All right, blinds now up, 1,000, 2,000. Cost of poker going up. Larry is the dealer. Bob E on the small blind. Rudy in the big blind. Jim will be first to act. Looks down at pocket tens from under the gun. It's a strong hand, makes a 5,000 chips. Folds around to Bob W. Looking down at ace queen offsuit, and he shoves over the top all in.
It's only got about 6 to 7 blinds or so I think we can expect Jim to call.
Folds around to Bob E, who looks down at I don't know what because he didn't show it to the camera.
He must have something. He's just considering after it's been raised and 3-bet all in. So he must have something looked a little tempting there.
Yeah, I'm really curious as to what it is, but he didn't show us, so we'll just have to speculate.
I think we're going to have to penalize players who don't show their cards to the cameras.
Unfortunately, it's about a week after the fact before we even know, so I'm not sure what we could penalize them for. But, wow, he's really thinking this out. This is a long pause.
And did you notice, meanwhile, Rudy was checking out Jim's stack. So Rudy's probably already looked at his cards and he seems interested. Although he's only got, I think, 2.5 more blinds left after his big blind, so he may feel like he's got to get it in here.
Bob finally folds, and Rudy looked down at ace-4 offsuit and was wondering if he should take a gamble here.
You can't think he's ahead, but again, I think he'd be left with 2.5 blinds if he folds, so he might never be getting better odds.
Yeah, that's what he might be pot committed here, and he does put it in 6,500 all in. Yeah, he's kind of in a no-win situation there between a big stack and a bigger stack, and blind, being in the big blind already. Now we're counting out all these side pots here, get this action ready for the flop.
And of course, Jim does make the call pretty quickly.
Here we go. We're going to see a flop. Jim's a significant favorite. Rudy is a significant dog. We get a flop of Queen King 9. Jim flops a gut shot draw.
Puts Bob in the lead, though. Bob W.
3 on the turn. Rudy's drawing dead. 8 helps nobody, and Bob doubles up and takes Rudy out in 9th place.
Yeah, a little more than a double up here, and that is a big hand for Bob W. as he gives him a little bit of breathing room, and Jim now falls back about even with the rest of the players. He's still counting out how much he has to pay here.
Got to settle up and pay the piper. Counting out those 100 chips. Off they go. All right, on to our next hand now. We're still at 1,000, 2,000 blinds. Jim's the dealer. Yog small blind, Terry in the big blind. Pat first to act. Pat looks down at King 8 offsuit, folds that. Around to Larry.
Larry's pretty short here.
Looks down at pocket fives, also known as Terry's hand.
Oh, you see Bob E. folds the pocket sixes
Wow.
there, being the other short stack.
That surprises me quite a bit.
He might be thinking, I might be able to just move up the pay ladder here by folding.
He might be right.
He's going to have to take a stand at some point, though.
Yeah. Still, that's a very tight fold. Jim folds his rags. Yog looks down at 7-3. Can't imagine he's going to play that out of the small blind. Nope. Terry looks down at ace-4, suited hearts.
I can't see him folding for much more here.
Now, Larry's relatively short stacked, already in the big blind, contemplating the call here.
Terry's got a lot of chips to spare.
Being the chip leader has its advantages. That's what he's talking about.
Well, if I have to, I think I'll probably make this call. He's dragging it out, though. He doesn't yet realize he's up against his signature hand, the pocket fives.
Yeah, those pocket fives just hasn't been good for him lately. But heaven forbid if you play a hand against Terry and have a 5 on the flop, you might be in for a world of hurt. He does make the call. 7,600 chips into the middle, and Larry's nearly a 2-to-1 favorite here. And Terry does hit a 4, draws some outs. Queen doesn't help anybody. Larry's pretty good, and Larry does double up. The 5s beat the 4s. Pair of queens on the board. So Terry gets the count out chips.
As you said, Larry doubles up, but he's still got some work to do. The stack is still kind of short. We're going to see a lot of all-in play here, Terry, with the stacks being the way they are, but it certainly wasn't like that leading up to the final table. We had a lot of room for play here, but as people refuse to bust, it gets tougher and tougher, and we're going to see a lot more pre-flop decisions instead of post-flop here.
Yep, and we had some, we've already seen a couple of double ups, so as those chips shuffle around the table, you never know what's going to happen. Larry looks down at I don't know and folds that. A couple more folds. Yog looks down at pocket 7s now.
Left side of the table, they're having trouble showing their cards to the camera.
He races all in 9,300 with 7s. Terry quickly folds. Pat looks down at ace-queen.
He moves all in.
Bob folds behind him. Mark 10-8 folds. And we're going to see a flop. Yog is all in 9,300. And nearly got a coin flip situation here. And we'll see the flop now. Get a 5-7-6. Yog hits set. Pat now drawing dead. Hits his ace on the river, but no help. Yog's gonna double up here through Pat.
We're going to count it down and see how much Pat has left. Looks like it's going to be less than 2 blinds that he's left with. Not sure if even Voltron can help him now.
Got quite the graphics on all the shirts here today. All right, blinds now up to 1,200 and 2,400. Still 8-handed at this final table. Looking for our 8th place finisher. Larry in the button. Bob, small blind. Jim, big blind. Yog looks down at 7-4, folds that. Terry, worse hand, 7-3, folds that quickly. Pat shoves his remaining 3,400 chips in with ace-9.
At least he found a reasonable hand to get it in with.
Bob looks down at Yog, 5-deuce, and folds that. Quickly folds around to Jim.
Jim's really got to call the ancient cards here.
And he does. He hasn't even looked at his hands yet.
And Pat's going to be happy to see that he's dominating Jim.
Yeah, 8-9. Flips it over. Pat's in really good shape here, 2-to-1.
Oh,
Jim catches an 8 on the very first card. And Pat is left in the wind, catches no help on the rest, and just like that, Pat is our 8th place finisher.
Yeah, a real unfortunate break for Pat. He's a very solid player, tough opponent, just could not get anything going at the final table tonight.
Now we're down to 7-handed. Move along again. Bob on the button. Terry first to act. Looks down at 5-8. Bob, Jack 6, folds that. Mark, Queen 3. Larry didn't show us and folds that. Bob E looks down at Ace 10 suited and quickly puts all his chips in the middle.
He's making a stand, and I think it's only a little over 2 blinds. So again, we're going to see the big blind and oblige to call with any 2 cards here.
Well, Yode's thinking about it with Queen Deuce suited, which is not normally a very playable hand, but Bob doesn't have a lot of chips in the middle, so it's definitely callable. And he does call, only 3,800 chip call. So Bob in good shape. 2-1 favorite here.
Oh, there's a queen.
Yep, right in the end, catches the queen on the end of the flop. And Bob gets no help after that. Yo takes him out, and Bob Ewald is our 7th place finisher.
Yeah, Bob Ewald was pretty card dead the whole final table. It's a nice job to hang on as long as he did. I'm sure he's a bit disappointed, but at least he's getting paid 7th place money.
Yep. Might have turned out differently, though, if he'd have played those pocket 6s earlier.
Well, we can always look back and make the right decision, right?
That's right. Larry now looking down at pocket 3s, and he folds them. Early position, 6-handed. I'm a little surprised by that.
Didn't just muck King Queen pre-flop here?
Yeah, another tight.
Did he misread his hand?
I don't know. Terry makes the call from the small blind with 7-8 suited.
Garbage 7-3, or sorry, garbage Jack 3 for Bob W.
And Terry flops the nuts. Flops the high end of the straight.
If you notice Bob W is open-ended, he's certainly going to be betting this hand.
And Terry's going to be happy to let him do so. He checked to him, and Bob bets out 3,000, just a minimum bet, basically.
You know, Bob's stolen a few blinds since he doubled up and built himself a pretty nice stack here, but he's definitely going to be jeopardizing it if he pushes this draw any farther.
Yeah, and Terry Hollywoods it a little bit, decides to make the call finally. And 9 here on the turn, quickly checks. Terry's still got the nuts here. Bob's drawing dead. Check, check.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a bad card for Bob.
Potential disaster.
He just hit a straight, and Terry's going to let him hang himself.
Yeah, I think Terry's expecting Bob to bet almost any hand here.
Bob can be pretty aggressive, so Terry's using that against him right now, and that's exactly what's happening.
The raise and an insta call.
And Bob looks and just has to laugh, and he's like, "You had me the whole way."
Didn't go broke, but he is going to have to rebuild that stack. He took quite a hit. Probably not quite half his stack. Moving over to Terry, who just keeps increasing his lead.
I have to wonder here if Terry might have missed an opportunity to make more. Do you think Bob would have called if Terry raised higher or all in, perhaps?
Well, had Terry known that Bob hit the straight, he certainly would have raised more, but as it was, he's hoping to get called by top pair, maybe, something like that.
So the next hand we go. Terry looks down at 7-6 and folds that under the gun. Decides to take a sip of his beer. Bob King 6 folds that 7 deuce, the hammer for Mark. Suited, but he puts it in the muck. Larry looks down at ace 7 off suit from the button. Just makes the call here.
Yeah, pretty unusual here. I think this is an auto raise. You're on the button. Just got the blinds in front of you.
Jim folds queen 10 for half price. That's kind of surprising. Yog looks down at 5 deuce. That's his signature hand in the big blind. And he comes out with a raise of 8,000 chips. And Larry quickly folds. And Yog shows it off. He's got to show his 5 deuce. That's his signature hand.
Uncharacteristic aggression from Jurgen. I don't know how the 5 deuce became his signature hand, but I like to pick something with a little more value.
Yeah, he just seems to, he always seems to win with it, and he did there. All right, Terry's on the button now. Larry first to act, looks down at K9. King 9 off suit. Folds that. Jim looks down at Doyle Brunson's 10 deuce. Yog calls the big blind with ace deuce.
Again, just limping in from Jurgen.
Terry folds from the dealer's position. Bob folds his half price, 6-4. Mark just checks the big blind.
Mark's
Queen
very
nine.
short stacked here. Any piece of this, and you can expect him to be all over it, I think.
Well, he got a piece of it. He got top pair. Yog got bottom pair, so this could be interesting.
No spade for either player. I think even with bottom pair, the bet amount is small enough where Jurgen's probably going to have to call.
You got to be a little worried about the 3 spades, but
For sure.
But like I said, there's not that much in the pot, and he does make the call. And everybody flips over, and Yog looks like, yeah, well, we don't have the spades to worry about, but I'm not in good shape.
Oh,
Well,
now he is.
Yeah, he hits that ace.
Oh, and the 5th spade on the river.
Oh my goodness, it turns into a chop. The
And Mark's excited.
the board,
You don't see that kind of excitement for a chop very often.
the
but
board flushes out, and we just chop the pot. Wow, what a hand that turned out to be.
New life for Mark.
Up, down, up, down. We had a lead change on every turn. All right, Yog first to act here with 7-8 suited. Into the muck they go. 5-6 offsuit. No play for Terry. King 5. Bob throws it in the muck. Mark just looks down at a single ace and calls all in for 6,000
He doesn't
chips.
care what the other card is.
Nope.
It's good enough.
He only looked at one ace and said, let's play. Larry Jack 6 into the muck, and Jim from the big blind spot says, how much more? It's just 1,000.
Yeah, Jim's got Queen 7, the computer hand. It's got just about 50% equity against any random hand.
Yeah, and he was only basically a min raise to him is 3,000 chips, so he makes the call. He's a 3-1 dog here, but you got to call that. And 2-4-9 on the flop doesn't really help anybody.
No for Jim. Mark's going to double.
Yeah, pair of eights, ace high takes it down.
Mark's not out of this yet. He has been on that short stack the entire final table, but still hanging in there.
Right, blinds are up now, 1,500 and 3,000. Yoga is the button. Terry small blind, Bob in the big blind. Mark looks down at 8-9 offsuit and folds. Larry folds. Jim 9-3 suited into the muck. Yog with a Queen 5 of diamonds.
Well, he just can't help himself. He's limping in again.
Yeah, makes the call. Terry, King Jack suited. Looks pretty good here. Raises
Yeah.
to 5,000 chips.
Certainly against a button limp, that's a raise all day. Now, I think Bob W. knows that Terry can be raising with any kind of hand here, really, against the button limper.
Well, he's not going away with pocket sevens.
And he moves all in.
And Yog folds his, and Terry insta-calls. We got another coin flip.
Yeah.
And a 7 in the window is not good news for Terry. And he
And
does
king
hit
on
a
the flop.
king.
Well, I guess it would have got all in on the flop anyhow, so.
Yeah.
Oh, and a jack on the river.
2 pair against a set.
No good.
Nope. So Bob doubles up that short-ish stack.
Yeah, he's back in the hunt now, but the blinds are certainly high enough where no one has a really deep stack, I guess, except Terry.
Counting out chips here. See how much of a dent Terry takes.
You can see Terry predicted he'd be at that final table with his WSOP final table shirt.
That was the whole idea. To the next hand we go. Yog looks down at King Deuce. Off suit into the muck. Pocket jacks for Terry.
Nice hand. We haven't seen many big pairs yet.
Professional player Mark Safe used to say there's 3 ways to play jacks, and they're all wrong. Let's see how Terry decides to play it.
Well, he's certainly going to raise.
I think that's the question, is how much. Makes it 9,000.
Well, it goes a little healthy here. Terry does have a deeper stack, though.
It's a 3x raise. One jack folds. Bob folded a jack.
Oh, and Larry can't help it here. He's going to have to get it in with ace-queen suited.
And there's the case jack. Jim folds it. Terry's drawing to no outs.
Well, Terry's in the lead.
Yeah, if Larry hits everything, Terry's drawing dead.
Good point. Is that all hearts on the board?
And Terry's got the only heart, so that hits
There's
it.
a flush.
Yep.
That'll do it.
Terry hits the flush. It was his only way to beat anything that could have happened, and takes Larry out in 6th place.
Yeah, Larry had a good opportunity to make some noise if he could have won that flip. But really, Mark's the beneficiary here as he keeps milking that short stack and ladders up.
Yep. Blind's now up 2,000, 4,000. Jim's the button. Terry's in the big blind. Bob will be first to act here.
Yep, we're back to pretty close how this final table started with Terry having a dominating stack.
Bob looks down at ace-9 offsuit. Mark looks down at 5-3 offsuit. That's going to go in the muck.
Definitely not good enough.
Jim, not much better, 6-4. That's folded easily. And Yog looks down at pocket 8s.
I wouldn't be surprised if Yog chips it in here.
From the small blind, this is going to be interesting. Is he going to 3-bet it or just flat call? He just flat calls.
It's giving Terry a pretty good price to come on in.
That's the whole thing here. Queen 7's definitely a mediocre hand, but he makes the call. The 3-way action in the pot. It's an interesting flop here. Terry flops his flush draw. Bob catches aces. Yog didn't catch any of that.
Checks behind. I guess to stay balanced, you've got to occasionally check behind some of your strong hands, but not sure I like that decision on a multi-white pot.
Everybody checks. 6 of spades doesn't help anyone.
Yog thinks he's got the best hand, though.
Yeah, flat. Turns out he has the worst. Yog bets 6,000. Terry quickly folds that flush draw.
Bit of a surprise there for not that much more.
I'm guessing the thinking here is that he's got 1 card left to make his flush, and a player behind him still to act that can take a serious dent in his stack, and he's just not willing to take that risk. Bob's really thinking this one out. He's got the best hand, but he doesn't know it. And he comes over the top all in.
Well, I think this was his plan all along here to get someone to take a bite at this, but and Terry's really congratulating himself now for folding that draw.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that Terry was worried about. You know, here the player behind him to act with a decent enough chip stack that would have made a dent.
Just a gesture, Terry? Was that to me? I just said I wasn't sure if I liked that play on the flop there, checking behind. I think that was pretty uncalled for.
Yeah, maybe he didn't like your commentary on that after all. But he's stacking up the chips, so...
Yeah, no doubt he's much closer to carrying chips now. It's going to be difficult for Terry to have him on his left.
Yep. Still 5-way action here. Blinds are 2,000, 4,000. Mark looks down at Queen 7. Folds that. Jim takes a look at Jack and a 6. Can't play it. Yog folds big lick. 6-9. Terry's taking his time shuffling up the other deck for the next hand. Looks down at 5-8 of diamonds from the small blind. Makes the call. Bob, 4 deuce, says let's play.
More blind on blind action.
Yep, the very first card off is a 4.
Terry's got the gut shot there. And the flush draw.
Yep. So lots of action here.
Easy call.
4,000 chips and makes the call.
And this will probably get checked down.
You know, Terry catches a pair of 5s on the river.
That's going to be good.
To beat Bob's pair of 4s. It's like, oh, I can't believe you caught me on the river. Terry just takes in
Be interesting to see what a big bet on the turn would have done there.
kind of, in either case, a big bet on the turn or the river,
Yeah.
because 5-4, neither one hand was strong, but any big bet might have taken it down. Those are the 2 big stacks going at it, so Yog looks down at Queen 4 now this hand.
He's not going to. Oh, shoot.
Doesn't limp with that from under the gun. Terry with Jack 10, spades. Counting out chips makes a call for 4,000 chips. Bob in the button folds 7-4. Yog's hand again, but in Mark's hand, so 5 deuce. Small blind makes the call. And Jim looks down at pocket 6s here. I think poker's going up. He does make the call all in for 15,000 more chips.
Is that 15 more or 15 total? 15 more?
That's 15 more. And
So Terry's going to be interested here with his Jack 10, but not sure he wants to spend the chips right now. Jim's been pretty tight, as we know. Does Terry realize how tight Jim's been?
yeah, I think the problem here is twofold. Not only has Jim been tight, but there's a player to act behind.
I think he can discount Mark, though. If Mark was going to get aggressive with the spot, it would have been when it was limp to him. I don't see him limp and then calling for the rest of his chips. Certainly not with the 2-5, but of course Terry doesn't know he has that.
Yeah, but Terry does finally make the call, and Mark insta-folds.
Shows his 2-5.
And always go to a flop, and Terry's actually a slight favorite here.
Yeah, he's got to be happy to see that. And
But he's not happy to see the flop, and a 6 comes right out.
we've seen several sets flopped here at this round table.
Terry does check a gut shot draw on the turn, but it doesn't come in, and he doubles up Jim with his Jack 10.
And now Jim's back in action.
Looks like the 3rd or 4th player that Terry's doubled up now,
He's been very generous.
but he's still got a good stack, so he gets and he gives.
Yep, no doubt.
Jim looks down at ace 4 under the gun and folds that. Yog, pocket kings, 2 black cowboys.
I think he might raise with this hand.
He just might. I think his limping days are over. He calls all in 10,500 chips, and Terry looks down at pocket 10s. And
He's definitely not going anywhere.
yeah, you got to think this is pretty much an insta call too.
If not a re-jam here.
He does make the call. Bob, Mark both fold, and we're going to go heads up. Terry's dominated here with these kings. And we get a flop of Jack 9-4.
You can get a runner for a straight, and that is no help.
4 and a deuce, and Yog doubles up with pocket kings. Terry gets no help. And there we go again. Terry doubles up somebody else.
Yeah. As I said, very generous. Jurgen gets that double up, but he's still got a ways to go to get to a healthy stack.
Yeah, he only started out with 10-5, so he doubles up, to a little over 20,000 chips. Blinds are 2-4, so he has 5 bigs. Now it's even less. Blinds are up to 3 and 6,000, so Yog's at less than 4 bigs. Bob W looks down at Queen 8, folds that.
Mark looking at the clock.
Puts all in, 7,500.
1.5 blinds only here.
Ace 8 offsuit.
Oh, nice hand for Jim.
Ace 9 offsuit.
I'd like to see him re-jam here. Nice late.
He doesn't, though. He just calls. Yog looks down at trash and folds it. Terry doesn't even look at his cards. There's only 1,500 chips to call, so that's an instant
He
call.
knows he can't fold.
Yep, that's pot committed for that.
You might want to look and see if he wants to raise, though.
He finally
just
did.
some advice.
Right
Friendly
here.
advice.
Finally does look down at King 3.
Well, I guess it's going to pay off.
Flops the top and bottom pair. Wow.
He moves in immediately, and Jim says, I can't call that.
Yep, gets it down. Definitely an unusual play when you're in a pot where somebody's at risk of going out and you're in a dry side pot, but Terry knew he had this one locked up when he flopped 2 pair. And
I think he's just letting Jim know, hey, I got it covered.
Yep.
Get out the way.
Exactly. Do that so you don't lose there to something stupid.
Good job by Mark, though. I got to say, he played a long time on that short stack. Even leading up to the final table, he was riding that short stack pretty hard.
So now we're down to the final 4. Bob looks down at ace-5 of clubs. And
He's moving his chips from one seat to another here.
Yeah, these aces with mediocre kickers become very playable here when you're down to 4-handed. You see a lot more range of playable hands. Jim looks down at pocket 8s and shoves all in for his last 24,000 chips. Terry quickly folds. Bob's thinking this one out, but
Well, he knows he's probably behind, but even if Jim has a hand like he has, a mid-pair or even a better ace, he's only about a 2.5 to 1 favorite. And Bob's getting more than 3 to 1 here on a call, so I don't see him folding this.
nope, it's only another 12,000 chips for him, so
It's going to hurt if he loses, but you can't really fold this.
and he doesn't. Calls 12,000. Pretty good sized pot, 57K. We're gonna go heads up to the flop. Jim at risk with his pocket 8s. Kind of reluctant to turn him over, but finally does.
Sees he's in good shape.
Yeah, it's in better shape than he thinks. This is not really a coin flip, it's 2 to 1. 3 to 1 almost.
5 on the flop there, giving some life to Bob.
Oh, the ace on the turn puts the nail in Jim's coffin.
He throws a river card across the table at Bob in disgust.
He's like, that always happens to me. What are you gonna do?
Still, 4th place, not bad at all for Jim.
Nope, 480 bucks for Jim. Definitely a decent cash. Now we're down to 3-way action. Lots of playable hands here. Yog looks down at Terry's hand again. Pocket 5s from the dealer spot.
He's got about 27K.
And shoves them all in. And Terry looks down at ace-jack.
Yeah, 27 is not a lot relative to the blinds, but it's definitely enough to do some damage.
Terry makes the call with ace-jack. Bob folds 6-4.
There's only about 200K in play total here, so this is going to be a key hand.
Nothing really doing on the flop, but
And
Terry
there's
hits
the
the
jack.
jack on the turn, putting Yog in deep spot. And
That's going to do it for Young.
yep, and the 9 doesn't help, and Terry takes Yog out, and that's how he managed to keep that stack healthy the whole day. Even after those double ups, he made a couple of eliminations too, and Yog goes out in third, $695 payday.
Nice job by Young.
So here we go now. Terry
like
and
they're-
Bob counted out their chips and basically had the same stack.
Almost identical after all this time of play.
Yep, 96,000 to 92,000 or something to that effect. So,
Are they dealing a hand to chop up the prize pool here?
yep, they made a chop agreement, splitting first and second place in half evenly, and play out the last hand for the championship ring.
Terry, what is that I smell? Is that weak sauce? You think this is weak to chop this here instead of playing it out?
I don't know, being so evenly stacked, this could have gone on for a little while.
Yeah, and of course we'd both rather be there playing than up here commentating, but I got to call it like I see it.
No, well, I think the case was that we were both down there playing and up here commentating, so that worked out differently. But Terry hits his pair on the river to beat Bob's pair that he hit on the flop and takes this one down. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night.
Peace.